The diner smelled like burnt coffee and decades of grease that no amount of scrubbing could ever eliminate. I could feel it clinging to my skin, my hair, my uniform. A yellow polyester dress that had seen better days, probably before I was even born. The fabric scratched against my thighs as I moved between tables, balancing plates that were always too hot and tips that were never enough. My feet ached. God, they always ached. The cheap sneakers I'd bought at a discount store 3 months ago were falling apart, the sole separating from the canvas with each step, making a soft flapping sound that I prayed customers wouldn't notice. But they probably did. People like me. We were invisible until we made mistakes. Coffee now. Table 7. A businessman who hadn't looked up from his phone once. Coming right up, sir. My voice was automatic, pleasant, empty. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in a sickly yellow-green glow. Outside, rain hammered against the windows, turning the New York street into a blur of headlights and shadows. It was nearly midnight, and I'd been on my feet since 6 a.m. My second shift this week. Bills didn't care about exhaustion. I grabbed the coffee pot, feeling the heat through the handle, and made my way back to table 7. That's when I heard it, the sudden silence. The diner had been filled with the usual sounds, clinking silverware, mumbled conversations, the sizzle from the kitchen. But now, nothing. Just the rain and my heartbeat suddenly loud in my ears. I looked up. 3 men had entered. No, they hadn't entered. They had arrived like a storm front, bringing with them a change in atmospheric pressure that made my lungs tighten. The first 2 were massive, wearing dark suits that strained across shoulders built for violence. Their eyes swept the room with mechanical precision, cataloging threats, exits, witnesses. But it was the third man who stole the oxygen from the air. He was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, but he carried himself with an authority that had nothing to do with age. Tall, with dark hair that was almost black, pushed back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Sharp cheekbones, a jaw that looked like it had never softened into a smile, and eyes. God, those eyes. Dark and assessing, missing nothing. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than I made in 6 months, perfectly tailored to a body that spoke of disciplined power, but it was the details that frightened me. The way his hand rested inside his jacket. The small bulge there. The way everyone in the diner suddenly became very interested in their food. The way Marcus, our cook, disappeared completely into the kitchen. The way my manager, Tommy, turned pale and fumbled with the register, pretending to be busy. The 2 bodyguards, because that's clearly what they were, moved to a corner booth, the one with a view of both the entrance and the back exit. They didn't sit. They stood, flanking the table like sentries. The dark-eyed man slid into the booth with fluid grace. He unbuttoned his jacket, and I caught a glimpse of a shoulder holster. My mouth went dry. Tommy appeared at my elbow, grabbing my arm hard enough to bruise. "Don't go over there," he hissed in my ear. "Let me handle it." But Tommy was already sweating, his hands shaking, and I knew, the way you know things in your bones, that whoever this man was, he would interpret fear as an insult, or worse, as an opportunity. "I've got it," I heard myself say. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Tommy's fingers dug deeper. "Claire, that's..." "I know." I didn't know. But I pulled away anyway, smoothing down my ugly yellow dress, and walked toward the booth. Each step felt like walking underwater. The 2 guards watched me approach with flat, dead eyes. One of them, the one with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, shifted slightly, his hand moving toward his jacket, but the seated man made a small gesture, barely a movement of his fingers, and the guard stilled. Up close, he was even more devastating. His cologne reached me first, expensive, dark, with notes of bergamot and something smoky that made me think of forbidden things. His skin was olive-toned, flawless except for a thin white scar along his jawline. His hands rested on the table, and I noticed they were elegant, long-fingered, but marked with small scars across the knuckles. Hands that had hit things, or people. He didn't look at me. Not at first. He was studying the laminated menu with the same intensity someone might give to a legal contract. "What can I get you?" My voice came out softer than intended. He still didn't look up. "Espresso," double, Italian accent, faint but present, smoothing the edges of his words. "We don't have espresso," I said. "Just regular coffee, but I can make it strong." Now he looked up, and I forgot how to breathe. His eyes were almost black in the diner's lighting, framed by thick lashes that would have been feminine on anyone else, but there was nothing soft about this man. He studied me with an intensity that felt physical, as if he could see through my skin to count my bones. "No espresso." He said it flatly, not a question. "No, sir. This is a diner, not a I bit my tongue, but too late." "Not a what?" His voice was quiet, but something dangerous moved beneath the surface. The smart thing would have been to apologize, to simper, to disappear. But I was tired. Bone tired. Soul tired. And sometimes exhaustion makes you reckless. "Not a fancy Italian cafe," I finished. "We serve coffee, breakfast food, burgers. Nothing Instagram-worthy if that's what you're looking for." The silence that followed was absolute. One of the guards made a sound, half cough, half warning. The scarred one actually put his hand inside his jacket. But the dark-eyed man held up one finger. "Just one." And everyone froze. Then he did something unexpected. His lips curved. Not quite a smile, but close. It transformed his face, making him somehow more dangerous and more beautiful at once. "Instagram-worthy," he repeated, tasting the words. "No, Piccola. I am not looking for Instagram." His eyes traveled down my uniform, taking in the coffee stains, the frayed hem, the name tag that read Claire in faded letters. When his gaze returned to my face, something had shifted in his expression. "Bring me your coffee. Make it strong. And..." He paused. "What do you recommend?" "The apple pie is decent. Everything else will probably kill you. Just slower than..." I stopped, horror flooding through me. "Slower than what? A bullet? Poison? What was wrong with me?" But he laughed. Actually laughed. It was a low, rich sound that seemed to surprise even his guards. "Honest," he said, almost to himself. "How refreshing." He closed the menu, apple pie, and the coffee. "Go." It wasn't a request. I went. In the kitchen, my hands shook as I poured the coffee. Marcus watched from the corner, his face pale. "Do you know who that is?" he whispered. "Should I?" "That's Dante Caruso." The name meant nothing to me. "Okay." Marcus looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "The Caruso family, Claire. Jesus. They own half of Manhattan. The other half they're working on." Ice formed in my stomach. "Mafia." "Don't say that word out loud," Marcus hissed. "Especially not around him. People who disrespect him, they disappear." My hands shook harder, sloshing coffee over the rim. I insulted him. I called this place not fancy enough for him. "You're still breathing, so maybe he found it amusing. Get the pie. Move fast. And for God's sake, Claire, keep your mouth shut." But I'd never been good at keeping my mouth shut. I carried the coffee and pie back on a tray, my heart hammering. Dante Caruso. The name felt heavy, dangerous. He was still sitting in the same position, utterly relaxed, while his guards remained rigid as statues. He was looking at his phone now, scrolling with one hand, completely unconcerned with his surroundings. Because he didn't have to be concerned. He was the danger in the room. I set down the coffee and pie carefully, trying not to let the cup rattle against the saucer. His eyes flicked up, catching me in their dark gravity. "Your name," he said. Not a question. "Claire." My voice was barely audible. "Claire." He said it slowly, as if learning a new language. "Italian?" "Irish, actually. Claire Murphy." "Murphy." Another almost smile. "You are very far from Ireland, Murphy." "Queens, born and raised." "Queens," he repeated. He picked up the coffee cup, his fingers brushing mine for the briefest second. The contact sent electricity up my arm. "And you work here? 2 shifts?" How did he know about 2 shifts? How did you... "Your feet," he said simply. "The way you stand. You shift your weight every few seconds. Pain. And your eyes." He studied me again, and I felt naked under his gaze. "You have the eyes of someone who does not sleep enough." I should have been frightened. I was frightened, but I was also strangely fascinated. "Are you a doctor or a mobster?" The words were out before I could stop them. Horror crashed over me like a wave. The temperature in the diner dropped 10 degrees. The scarred guard actually pulled his gun halfway out. The other one moved toward me, but Dante raised his hand, stopping them with nothing but a gesture. "Both require attention to detail," he said softly. Too softly. But only one of those professions would forgive such boldness. My heart stopped. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did." He took a sip of coffee, his eyes never leaving mine. "You meant it. You are either very brave or very stupid, Piccola. I have not decided which." "Probably stupid," I whispered. "Probably." But there was something in his voice now, something almost warm. "Sit." "I can't. I'm working." "Sit," he repeated. Command, not request. My knees folded before my brain could protest. I sat across from him, the vinyl booth squeaking. Up close, I could see more details. The expensive watch on his wrist. The signet ring on his right hand engraved with something I couldn't make out. The way his shirt collar opened just enough to reveal the hollow of his throat. "How old are you?" he asked. 24. Young. He cut into the apple pie with the side of his fork. Too young to be this exhausted. Bills don't care about age. Family? He took a bite, watching my reaction. Just me. Something flickered in his eyes. Everyone has someone. Not everyone. My mom died 3 years ago. Cancer. No siblings. Dad was never in the picture. Why was I telling him this? This dangerous stranger who could make people disappear? He set down his fork. "I am sorry. For your mother." The sincerity in his voice surprised me. "Thank you." We sat in silence for a moment. The rain continued its assault on the windows. Somewhere in the kitchen, a pan clattered. Normal sounds in an abnormal situation. "This pie is terrible," he said finally. A laugh burst out of me before I could stop it. "I warned you." "You did." He pushed the plate away. "But the coffee is acceptable." He finished it in one swallow, then he pulled out his wallet, black leather, thick with bills, and extracted what looked like $100 bill. He placed it on the table. "The pie was $6, I said. "I know, that's too much. Perhaps I am paying for the entertainment." "You are the first person in 5 years to call me out on my expectations." He stood, rebuttoning his jacket. The movement made his shoulder holster visible again. "Murphy." "Yes?" "Do not work 2 shifts anymore. It is bad for your health. I need the money." He tilted his head, studying me with an expression I couldn't read. "Everyone needs money, but money is useless if you are dead from exhaustion. Or—" He paused, his eyes growing darker. "Or worse things." Before I could ask what that meant, he turned to leave. His guards fell into formation around him, their hands inside their jackets. They moved as a unit toward the door. But at the threshold, Dante Caruso stopped. He looked back at me, and for a moment, I saw something in his face that looked almost like hunger. No, that wasn't right. It was more specific than hunger. It was focus. The kind of focus a predator gives prey. "This diner," he said. "You work here often?" "Every day." He nodded slowly. "Good to know." Then he was gone, melting into the rain-soaked night with his guards, leaving behind only the scent of expensive cologne and danger. Tommy rushed over the moment the door closed. "What did he say to you? What did you tell him?" I looked down at the $100 bill. My hands were trembling. I think I just made the worst mistake of my life. But even as I said it, I couldn't shake the memory of those dark eyes. The way he'd looked at me like I was a puzzle he intended to solve or possess. The rain continued to fall, and somewhere in the city I knew Dante Caruso was thinking about the exhausted waitress who'd called him out for being fancy. I should have been relieved he'd left. Instead, I felt the weight of certainty pressing down on my chest. This wasn't over. Whatever had started in those few minutes, it was only the beginning. And I had no idea how to survive the end. I didn't see Dante Caruso for 3 days. 3 days where I convinced myself it had been a fever dream. A hallucination brought on by exhaustion and too much bad coffee. 3 days where I almost believed I was safe. Almost. The first sign came on Thursday. I was wiping down tables during the mid-afternoon lull when a black Mercedes pulled up outside the diner. Not just any Mercedes, one of those armored ones with windows so tinted you couldn't see inside. the kind that screamed money and danger in equal measure. A man emerged. Not Dante, but one I recognized. The scarred guard from that night. He walked in, water dripping from his expensive coat, and every conversation in the diner died. He approached the counter where I stood frozen, my dish rag clutched in white-knuckled hands. "Claire Murphy?" His voice was rough, Eastern European accent. "Yes?" He placed an envelope on the counter. Thick, cream-colored paper, my name written in elegant black ink across the front. From Mr. Caruso. Then he left. Just like that. No explanation, no threats, nothing but the envelope and the sound of my heart trying to escape my ribcage. Tommy appeared at my shoulder. "Open it." Maybe I should throw it away. "Claire, you don't throw away anything from Dante Caruso. That's how people end up in the Hudson." My fingers shook as I opened the envelope. Inside was a note, handwritten in the same elegant script. "Murphy, you will quit your second job. This is not a request. Enclosed is compensation for lost wages, plus additional funds for proper shoes. Your feet should not hurt." D beneath the note were 50 $100 bills. $5,000. My knees went weak. "Jesus Christ," Tommy breathed, looking over my shoulder. "He's either going to kill you or marry you." That's not funny. I'm not joking. I stared at the money, my mind racing. This was insane. Accepting money from a mafia boss, because that's what he was, what else could he be, was dangerous. It meant obligation. It meant debt. It meant I would owe him something, and men like Dante Caruso always collected their debts. But $5,000. I could pay rent for 3 months, buy decent shoes, fix my mother's gravestone, which still had a temporary marker. Eat something other than ramen and day-old diner food. "I can't accept this," I said, but my hands were already folding the envelope, tucking it into my apron. Tommy gave me a long look. "Yeah, you can't. Except you just did." He was right. I had. And somehow I knew Dante had known I would. The second sign came that night. I was walking home from my shift. My only shift now, because I'd called my second job and quit. My voice mechanical, my mind elsewhere. When I realized I was being followed. Not obviously, not threateningly. But there, in my peripheral vision, was a black SUV keeping pace with me 3 car lengths back. Different vehicle, same dark windows, same sense of watching eyes. Fear spiked through me. I walked faster. The SUV maintained its distance. I turned down a side street. It followed. My apartment was still 6 blocks away, and the streetlights were sparse here, casting long shadows that seemed to reach for me. I was half running now, my new shoes. Yes, I'd already bought new shoes, good ones that didn't fall apart, slapping against wet pavement. The SUV accelerated slightly, pulling alongside me. The rear window rolled down. "Get in." Dante's voice, unmistakable even in the dark. I stopped, chest heaving. "Are you stalking me?" "Protecting you. Get in, Murphy." "I don't need protection. This neighborhood says otherwise. Get in." The interior light was on now, and I could see him clearly. He wore a black shirt tonight, no jacket. The sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle and marked with more of those small scars. His hair was slightly disheveled, as if he'd been running his hands through it. He looked tired, and dangerous, and unbearably magnetic. Against every instinct for self-preservation, I got in. The door closed behind me with an expensive click, and suddenly I was enveloped in leather and his cologne and the presence of him. The driver, someone new, not the scarred guard, didn't even glance back. A privacy screen separated the front from the back, and I realized with a jolt that we were completely alone. "This is kidnapping," I said, trying to sound brave and failing. "This is a ride home. There is a difference." He was sitting too close, his thigh almost touching mine. The space felt simultaneously too large and too small. "You accepted my gift. I was going to return it. Liar." But he said it almost fondly. "Your shoes. Let me see." "What? Your feet. You are still limping slightly. Show me." "I'm not taking off my shoes in your car." His eyes darkened. "Murphy, I am not a patient man, but for you I am trying. Do not test the limits of my generosity." There was something in his voice, Not quite a threat, but a warning. A reminder that underneath the expensive clothes and cultured accent was something primitive and dangerous. I slipped off my right shoe. The new sneaker. Good quality, comfortable. The kind I'd always wanted but never justified buying. My foot looked small and pale against the dark carpet of his car. Dante reached out, and before I could protest, his hand wrapped around my ankle. His palm was warm, slightly rough, and the contact sent heat racing up my leg. He examined my foot with the same intensity he gave everything, his thumb brushing over a blister that hadn't fully healed. Better, he said quietly, but still damaged. You worked too long in bad shoes. That's life when you're poor. His eyes snapped to mine. You are not poor anymore. I returned your money. No, you did not. It is in your apartment, hidden in a shoebox under your bed, next to 3 unpaid bills and a photograph of your mother. His grip on my ankle tightened fractionally. I know everything about you, Piccola. Where you live, what you owe, what you fear. Do not lie to me again. Cold washed over me. You've been in my apartment? I have eyes everywhere. He released my foot slowly, almost reluctantly, and now those eyes will watch over you. I don't want to be watched over. What you want is irrelevant. You insulted me. You amused me. You made me curious, and Dante Caruso does not ignore his curiosities. So what? I'm just supposed to accept that you're, what? Stalking me? Controlling my life? Protecting, he corrected. This city is dangerous for women alone, especially women who catch the wrong attention. Attention like yours? He smiled, but there was nothing warm in it. Exactly like mine. The car slowed, and I realized we were outside my building, a shabby pre-war walk-up in a neighborhood that had never seen gentrification. Dante looked at it with undisguised distaste. You live here? Yes. Alone? Yes. 4th floor, no elevator. Windows that do not lock properly. A front door that opens with a hard push. He recited the details like accusations. This is unacceptable. It's what I can afford. Not anymore. He pulled out his phone, typed something rapidly. By tomorrow, you will have new locks, security cameras, a door that requires more than a hard push. You can't just... I can. I am. He looked at me, and the intensity in his gaze stole my breath. You will also have someone watching your building. At all times. You will not know who they are, but they will be there. This is insane. This is necessary. You have attracted my attention, Murphy. Which means you have attracted other attention as well. Enemies. Rivals. People who would use you to hurt me. The words landed like physical blows. I don't want any part of your world. Too late. He reached out, and his fingers traced my jaw so gently it made my throat tight. You became part of it the moment you spoke to me without fear, the moment you made me laugh, the moment you... He paused, something raw flickering across his face. The moment I decided you were mine. I'm not yours. Not yet. His thumb brushed my lower lip, and I forgot how to breathe, but you will be. Because I do not lose, Piccola, I do not fail. And I always get what I want. What if I run? Where would you go? This city belongs to me. The next city and the next. There is nowhere you could hide that I would not find you. And the chase? His voice dropped lower, rougher. The chase would only make me want you more. I should have been terrified. Part of me was. But another part, a part I didn't want to acknowledge, felt something else entirely. Something that responded to the possession in his voice, the certainty, the dark promise of being wanted so completely. Why? I whispered. Why me? He was quiet for a long moment, his hand still cradling my face. You looked at me like I was just a man. Not a monster. Not a king. Just a man who did not know the difference between a diner and a cafe. Do you know how rare that is, to be seen as human? The vulnerability in his admission broke something in me. I don't know how to do this, whatever this is. Neither do I, he said. And the honesty surprised us both. I have had women, many women, but they wanted my money, my power, my name. They performed for me. You... He leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. You told me my pie was terrible. You insulted me, and you did not even know you should be afraid. I know now. Good. Fear will keep you careful, but not too careful, yes? I like your sharp tongue, your honesty. Do not lose that because of who I am. His lips brushed my cheek, not quite a kiss, but close enough to send electricity through my veins. Then he pulled back, putting deliberate distance between us. Go inside, Murphy. Lock your inadequate locks. Tomorrow, everything changes. Changes how? You will see. He pressed a button, and my door opened automatically. And Murphy, do not try to refuse my protection. Men who want to hurt me will not care about your objections. They will simply use you and discard you. I will not allow that. I climbed out on shaky legs. The night air was cold after the warmth of his car, and I immediately missed it. Missed him, which was absurd. Dante, I said, turning back. He looked at me through the open door, dark eyes unreadable. What if I don't want to be owned? Then teach me how to want you differently. But know this. I will still want you. That will not change. The door closed. The car pulled away, and I stood on the sidewalk, watching his taillights disappear into the city, knowing that everything had just shifted beneath my feet. Inside my apartment, I found the shoebox exactly where he'd said it would be. But on top of the money was something new. A business card with a single phone number. And beneath it, written in that elegant script, for emergencies. Or when you stop pretending you do not want to hear my voice. I held the card until my hands stopped shaking. Then I tucked it in my pocket, where it burned against my hip like a brand. Outside my window, I caught a glimpse of a figure in a dark car across the street, watching, protecting, claiming, and I realized with certainty that scared and thrilled me in equal measure. Dante Caruso was not a man who made idle promises. If he said I was his, then I was already caught. The only question was whether I wanted to escape. The new locks arrived at 6 a.m, along with 2 men in unmarked uniforms who said nothing, and worked with mechanical efficiency. By 7, my door was reinforced steel, my windows had sensors, and there were cameras in the hallway I couldn't see but knew were there. I felt safer, and more trapped than ever. I went to work in a daze, my mind replaying every word Dante had said, the weight of his hand on my ankle, the dark promise in his eyes. The diner felt different now, smaller, more exposed. Every customer who walked through the door made me jump. Every black car that passed outside made my heart race. But Dante didn't come. Not that day. Or the next. Or the one after that. By the 4th day, I'd convinced myself I'd imagined the intensity of our encounter. Maybe he'd gotten bored. Maybe I'd been a passing curiosity, nothing more. The thought should have relieved me. Instead, it felt like loss. I was wiping down the counter during the late afternoon shift when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My thumb hovered over the decline button before something made me answer. Hello? You have not called. Dante's voice, rich and accusatory, poured into my ear like dark honey. My heart stuttered. I didn't know I was supposed to. The card I left. It was an invitation, Murphy. It said for emergencies. And you have not had any emergencies? No moments where you wanted to hear my voice? There was amusement there, underneath the arrogance. I've been busy. Liar. A pause. I am outside. I looked up sharply. Through the window, I could see the black Mercedes, sleek and predatory against the grimy street. Dante stood beside it, phone to his ear, watching me. Even from this distance, I felt the pull of his gaze. Come outside, Piccola. Now. I'm working. Your shift ended 3 minutes ago. I know your schedule. Come. He hung up before I could protest. Through the window, I watched him pocket his phone and lean against the car with casual confidence, as if he owned the street. Which he probably did. Tommy appeared beside me. Go. Before he comes in here and makes a scene. How do you know? Everyone knows. The whole neighborhood knows Dante Caruso has claimed you. You're marked, Claire. Might as well accept it. Marked. The word settled over me like a shroud. I untied my apron with numb fingers, grabbed my jacket, and walked outside into the cool October evening. Dante straightened as I approached, his eyes tracking my every movement. He wore a navy suit today, perfectly tailored, his shirt open at the collar, revealing the strong column of his throat. The fading sunlight caught the silver at his temples, premature gray that somehow made him more devastating. "Get in," he said. "Where are we going?" "Does it matter?" He opened the rear door. "You will be safe with me. You have my word." The word of a criminal. His jaw tightened. The word of a man who does not break his promises, especially not to you. There was something in his tone, possessive, protective, almost reverent, that made my defenses crumble. I got in the car. This time, when he slid in beside me, he sat closer. Close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body, smell the intoxicating mix of his cologne, and something uniquely him. The driver pulled away from the curb, and I watched my world disappear through the tinted windows. "You're angry with me," Dante said. "Not a question. I'm confused. About what?" "About this. You. What you want from me." I turned to face him, drawing courage from somewhere deep. "You say I'm yours, but what does that mean? Am I supposed to just sit around waiting for you to decide when you want to see me? Am I a toy? A distraction?" His hand shot out, gripping my chin and turning my face toward his. The movement was fast but not rough, demanding but not cruel. "You are not a toy. You are not a distraction. You are..." He seemed to struggle with the words. "You are the first real thing I have wanted in years. Everything else, the women, the power, the money, it all feels like shadows. But you are solid, real, mine." "I'm not mine," he repeated, his thumb brushing my lower lip. "I have stayed away to give you time to adjust, to understand what this means, but I am not a patient man, Claire. And 4 days without seeing you has been torture." The use of my first name, not Murphy, sent shivers down my spine. "So what happens now? Now I take you to dinner, a real dinner. And you let me know you properly. This feels like a kidnapping. This is courtship, Caruso style." His lips quirked. "Perhaps not traditional, but nothing about us is traditional, is it?" He had a point. Nothing about this was normal. Normal men didn't install security systems in your apartment. Normal men didn't have bodyguards. Normal men didn't look at you like they were cataloging every freckle, every breath, memorizing you in case you disappeared. The car wound through the city, leaving behind the gritty familiarity of my neighborhood for streets that grew progressively cleaner, brighter, more expensive. We crossed into Manhattan, the skyline glittering like a promise I'd never dared believe in. We stopped in front of a restaurant I'd only seen in magazines, the kind of place where reservations required months of waiting and celebrities dined behind velvet ropes. A valet opened my door before I could reach for the handle. Dante was there immediately, offering his arm. "Stay close to me." "Why?" "Because every man in that restaurant will look at you, and I do not share well." His possessiveness should have annoyed me. Instead, it made heat pool in my stomach. I took his arm, feeling the solid muscle beneath his suit jacket, and let him guide me inside. The interior was all low lighting and hushed elegance, the kind of quiet that comes from thick carpets and thicker wallets. A hostess approached, her smile professionally warm until she saw Dante. Then her eyes widened fractionally, and her smile became genuine fear, poorly masked. "Mr. Caruso, your private room is ready." Of course he had a private room. Men like Dante didn't dine where they could be seen, or interrupted, or shot. We were led through the main dining area, where conversations did pause, where heads did turn, where I felt the weight of curious and envious stares, into a corridor lined with oil paintings worth more than my entire building. The hostess opened a door to reveal a room that was somehow both intimate and opulent. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park, now dark except for scattered streetlights. A table was set for two, candles already lit, wine breathing in a crystal decanter. Soft music played from hidden speakers, something classical and melancholy. "This is too much," I whispered, as Dante pulled out my chair. "This is barely anything." He sat across from me, his eyes never leaving my face. "You should see what I do when I am actually trying to impress someone. I'm a waitress from Queens. I don't belong here. You belong wherever I say you belong. And right now, you belong here, with me." A server appeared, silent, efficient, terrified. He poured wine, presented menus, and disappeared before I could even process what was happening. I stared at the menu, my eyes glazing over at the prices. No dollar signs, just numbers. The kind of numbers that meant if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. I can't read this. It's in French. Dante reached across the table, gently removing the menu from my hands. Then I will order for us. Do you trust me? No. He smiled. A real smile this time, reaching his eyes and transforming his face into something almost boyish. Smart girl. But trust me anyway. Just this once. When the server returned, Dante spoke in rapid French, gesturing occasionally. The server nodded, scribbling notes, and vanished again. We were alone with the candles and the view, and the weight of everything unspoken between us. Tell me about your mother, Dante said suddenly. The request surprised me. Why? Because you loved her. Because she made you who you are. Because I want to know everything that shaped you. I looked down at my hands, twisted in my lap. She was a nurse, worked double shifts to keep us afloat after my father left. She was tired all the time, but she never complained, not even when she got sick. She just kept going until she couldn't anymore. How long did you care for her? 2 years. Stage 4 lung cancer. She never smoked a day in her life, but I swallowed hard. Life isn't fair. No, Dante agreed quietly. It is not. My mother died when I was 12, a rival family. They bombed our car. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Collateral damage. Horror washed over me. Dante, My father remarried within a year, a strategic alliance. The woman he chose was cold, calculating. She was not a mother. She was a chess piece. His jaw clenched. I learned then that love is a weakness, that caring makes you vulnerable, that the only way to survive is to be the monster everyone fears. But you're not just a monster, I said softly. Monsters don't send money for shoes. They don't install security systems. They don't sit in diners eating terrible pie. His eyes locked on mine. With you, I want to be something different, something I have not been since I was 12 years old. I do not know if I can, but I want to try. The vulnerability in his admission cracked something open inside me. This dangerous man, this killer, because I wasn't naive enough to think he hadn't killed, was offering me something precious. His truth, his broken pieces. Food arrived in courses, each more exquisite than the last. Dante watched me taste everything, his attention focused entirely on my reactions. He barely touched his own food, instead studying me like I was art in a museum, something to be analyzed and appreciated and possessed. Why me? I asked between courses. You could have anyone. Models, actresses, women who understand your world. I have had those women. They bore me. He leaned forward. You challenge me. You speak your mind. You see me as human, not as a title or a bank account. Do you know how intoxicating that is? I see a man who threatens people, who has bodyguards, who makes my neighbors afraid, yes. But you see a man, Claire, not a king, not a god. A man who eats terrible pie and drinks acceptable coffee. A man who can be insulted and amused and made curious. His hand crossed the table, capturing mine. A man who has not felt truly alive in 20 years until a tired waitress told him he was too fancy for her diner. His thumb traced circles on my palm, the touch sending sparks up my arm. I don't know how to be what you want. Be yourself. That is all I want. Your honesty. Your fire. Your terrible jokes about poison. He smiled. And in return, I will give you everything. I don't want everything. Then tell me what you want, and it is yours. The server cleared our plates, brought dessert, something chocolate and decadent that probably required a culinary degree to create. We ate in silence, the tension between us building with each passing moment. Finally, Dante stood and walked around the table. He offered his hand. Dance with me. There's no dance floor. There is here. He pulled me to my feet, drawing me close. One hand settled at my waist, the other cradling my hand against his chest. I could feel his heartbeat, steady and strong, follow my lead. He moved us in a slow circle, swaying to the melancholy music. This close, I could see every detail. The flecks of gold in his dark eyes, the faint stubble along his jaw, the way his lips parted slightly when he looked at me. He was beautiful and terrifying, and I was falling. Claire, My name was a prayer on his lips. I need you to understand
Once you are
something.
truly mine, I will not let you go. I am not a good man. I am selfish and possessive and dangerous. I will watch your every move. I will eliminate any threat to you. I will cage you in gold and call it love. That's not love. That's obsession. Perhaps. But it is all I know how to give. His hand tightened on my waist. If you run now, I will understand. I will have my men ensure you are safe, but I will let you go. But if you stay, if you take one more step into my world, there is no escape. Do you understand? I should have run. Every rational thought screamed at me to leave, to go back to my simple life, to avoid this man who promised possession disguised as protection. But rationality had never been my strength. I understand, I whispered. Something fierce and primal flashed in his eyes. Then say it. Say you are mine. The word stuck in my throat. Say it, Piccola. Give me what I want, and I will spend the rest of my life giving you everything you need. His lips were inches from mine. I could feel his breath, taste the wine on it, feel the tremor running through his powerful body. This man, this dangerous, damaged, obsessive man, was giving me a choice. The last choice I would have if I said yes. I'm yours, I breathed. He kissed me, and the world caught fire. The kiss consumed me. Dante's mouth was demanding, possessive, claiming me with a thoroughness that left no room for doubt about his intentions. His hand fisted in my hair, angling my head exactly where he wanted it, while his other arm banded around my waist, crushing me against the hard planes of his body. I could feel every muscle, every breath, every thundering beat of his heart. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were nearly black, pupils blown wide with desire, and something darker. Triumph. Mine, he murmured against my lips. Say it again. Yours, I whispered, and the word felt like both surrender and liberation. He kissed me again, slower this time but no less intense. His tongue traced my lower lip before delving inside, tasting, exploring, memorizing. I melted against him, my hands gripping his suit jacket for balance as my knees threatened to give out. A discreet cough from the doorway made us both freeze. The server stood there, eyes carefully averted. Mr. Caruso, your car is ready. And there's been a development. Dante's entire demeanor shifted in an instant. The passionate man disappeared, replaced by something cold and lethal. What development? Marco called. There's been an incident at the East Warehouse. They need you. Dante's jaw clenched so hard I heard his teeth grind. He looked at me, conflict warring across his features. I have to go. Business that cannot wait. It's fine. I'll take a cab. No. The word was absolute. You will go home in my car with 2 of my men. You will lock your door. You will not leave until I contact you. Understood? The commanding tone should have annoyed me. Instead, it sent shivers down my spine. What kind of incident? The kind that does not concern you. He cupped my face, his thumb brushing my swollen lips. Promise me you will do as I say. Dante? Promise me, Claire. There was desperation beneath the command. I cannot focus on what I need to do if I am worried about your safety. I promise. He kissed me once more, hard and fast, then released me like it physically pained him. Go with Antonio. He will protect you with his life, because if anything happens to you... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Antonio turned out to be the scarred guard, and he was even more terrifying up close. He said nothing during the drive back to my apartment, but his eyes constantly scanned the streets, his hand never far from the gun I could see beneath his jacket. Another guard sat in the front passenger seat, equally vigilant. Is he in danger? I asked quietly. Dante? Antonio's eyes flicked to me in the rearview mirror. Mr. Caruso is always in danger. That is the life he chose, but he is very good at staying alive. Have you worked for him long? 12 years, since I was 18. He saved my life, so now I protect his. There was loyalty in his voice that went beyond employment, and now you're protecting me. You are his, which means you are worth dying for. He said it matter-of-factly, as if dying for a waitress he'd met twice was perfectly reasonable. At my building, both guards escorted me inside and up the 4 flights of stairs. They checked my apartment thoroughly, closets, under the bed, the fire escape, before Antonio handed me a phone. Different from my regular one, sleek and black. This is a secure line directly to Mr. Caruso. He will call you on this phone. Keep it with you always. He paused at the door. Lock this behind us. Do not open it for anyone except Mr. Caruso or myself. Clear? Clear. They left. I locked the door, engaged all 3 new locks, and stood in the silence of my apartment. The secure phone felt heavy in my hand. Outside my window, I could see the dark shape of a car across the street. Still watching. Still protecting. I showered, trying to wash away the confusion and fear and desire tangled inside me. The hot water helped, but it couldn't erase the memory of Dante's kiss. The way he'd held me like I was something precious and breakable. The way he'd said mine like it was both a promise and a threat. I was toweling off when the secure phone rang. I grabbed it so fast I nearly dropped it. Hello? You are home, good. Dante's voice was rougher than before, strained. I could hear sounds in the background, shouting, movement, something that might have been gunfire. I need to hear your voice. Tell me about your day. My day? Dante, what's happening? Are you safe? Safer knowing you are behind locked doors. Talk to me, Piccola. Distract me. So I talked. I told him about the obnoxious customer who'd complained about everything, about Tommy's terrible jokes, about the stray cat that had been hanging around the diner. Mundane things. Normal things. And I could hear him breathing on the other end. Could almost see him closing his eyes and letting my voice anchor him to something beyond violence. Keep talking, he said when I paused. What happened tonight? At the warehouse? A long silence. Then, someone tried to steal from me. They have been dealt with. Dealt with. The euphemism made my stomach clench. You killed them. I protected what is mine. I will always protect what is mine. His voice dropped lower. Including you. Especially you. Do you understand what that means, Claire? The enemies I have made, the people who would love to see me vulnerable, they will learn about you, and they will try to use you against me. Fear iced through my veins. Maybe we should stop this, before it goes too far. It is already too far. The moment you got in my car, the moment you said you were mine, it became too far. There is no going back now. I heard a door slam, then blessed quiet. I am coming to you, tonight. It's 1 a.m. I do not care. I need to see you, to touch you, to know you are real and safe and mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened me. Instead, it ignited something primal inside me. Okay? Okay, he repeated, and I could hear the smile in his voice. Wait for me, Piccola. I will not be long. He arrived 30 minutes later. I heard the commotion in the hallway, heavy footsteps, low voices, before the knock came. I opened the door to find Dante standing there, still in his suit but disheveled now. His shirt was untucked, jacket gone, tie loose around his neck. There was blood on his knuckles. Dante? He walked in, kicking the door shut behind him, and pulled me into his arms. He just held me, his face buried in my hair, his body shaking slightly. Let me hold you. Just for a moment. Let me remember what good feels like. I wrapped my arms around him, feeling the tension in his powerful frame, the way he gripped me like I might disappear. What happened? War, he said simply. Old rivalries. Someone thought I was growing weak. They were wrong. He pulled back, cupping my face. But coming here, seeing you, it makes me weak, Claire. You make me weak. And in my world, weakness is death. Then maybe you shouldn't be here. I cannot stay away. I have tried. These 4 days without you were torture. And tonight, when bullets were flying and blood was spilling, all I could think was that I needed to survive. Because you were waiting. Because I had promised to protect you. Because I... He stopped, something raw flashing across his face. Because you what? He kissed me instead of answering, harder than before, desperate, his hands tangling in my still damp hair. I tasted copper, blood, and didn't care. I kissed him back with equal fervor, my fingers working at the buttons of his shirt, needing to feel skin, needing to ground myself in the reality of him. He groaned against my mouth, backing me toward the bedroom. We stumbled over furniture, never breaking the kiss, shedding clothes in a trail of expensive fabric and desperation. My towel fell away. His shirt joined it. By the time we reached the bed, we were both breathing hard, eyes locked. "Tell me to stop," he said, even as his hands traced my collarbone, my ribs, the curve of my hip. "Tell me this is too fast, too much. Tell me to leave." "Don't leave." I pulled him down to me. "Don't you dare leave." Something feral flashed in his eyes. "Then you are mine. Completely. No hesitation. No regrets." "No regrets," I promised, knowing it was a lie. Knowing I would regret this beautiful, terrible man for the rest of my life, whether I had him or lost him. He made love to me like a man possessed, his body claiming mine with a thoroughness that left marks. On my skin, on my soul. He was demanding and gentle by turns, whispering Italian words I didn't understand, my name like a prayer on his lips. And when we finally collapsed together, sweat-slicked and trembling, he held me so tightly I could barely breathe. "Mine," he murmured against my temple. "My Claire. My light in all this darkness." I traced the scars on his chest. So many scars, each one a story of violence survived. "Who did this to you?" "Enemies. Rivals. My own father once when I disappointed him." His hand caught mine, pressing it over his heart. "But you. You heal something in me I did not know was broken." "I'm nobody, Dante. Just a waitress." "You are everything." He tilted my face up, his eyes fierce. "And I will burn this city to the ground before I let anyone take you from me." The vow should have terrified me. Instead, I felt safe. Cherished. Possessed in the best and worst ways. We fell asleep tangled together, his body curled protectively around mine, his arm an iron band across my waist, and for the first time in years, I slept without nightmares. I woke to sunlight streaming through my window and the smell of coffee. Expensive coffee. Not the cheap instant I kept in my cupboard. I sat up, disoriented, sheet clutched to my chest. Dante stood in my tiny kitchen, shirtless, dress pants riding low on his hips, talking quietly on his phone in Italian. He looked utterly incongruous in my shabby apartment, like a panther in a birdcage, too large and dangerous for such a small space. He saw me watching and smiled, ending his call. "Buongiorno, piccola. I made coffee. Though your kitchen is..." He gestured helplessly at my ancient appliances. "A disaster. I know." I grabbed his discarded shirt, pulling it on. It hung to my thighs, smelling like him. "You didn't have to stay. Where else would I be?" He brought me coffee in a chipped mug, sitting on the edge of the bed. "I have already rearranged my morning meetings. You are more important. Dante, you can't just..." "I can. I am. Drink your coffee." He brushed hair from my face, his touch achingly gentle. "We need to talk about security." Dread pooled in my stomach. "What about it?" "Last night's attack. It was a message. The Rossini family, testing my defenses. They failed, but they will try again. And now that word is spreading about you." His jaw clenched. "I am moving you. Today." "Moving me where?" "My penthouse. Top floor security. Armed guards 24/7. No one gets in or out without my knowledge. That's a prison. That is safety." His eyes burned into mine. "I told you I would cage you in gold. I was not joking, Claire. You are too precious to risk. I have a job. A life. You can keep your job if you insist, though I would prefer you did not. But you will be driven there and back by armed guards. You will never be alone. You will never be vulnerable." He gripped my shoulders. "Please, do not fight me on this. I cannot lose you. I cannot." The desperation in his voice broke my resistance. "For how long?" "Until the threat is eliminated. Until I have crushed the Rossini family and anyone else who dares threaten what is mine." He kissed my forehead. "Trust me to protect you. I don't have a choice, do I?" "There is always a choice. But I am asking, begging, that you choose safety. Choose me." I looked into his dark eyes and saw genuine fear there. This powerful man who feared nothing was terrified of losing me. And despite every warning bell ringing in my head, I found myself nodding. "Okay. I'll move to your penthouse." Relief flooded his features. He kissed me deeply, gratefully. "Thank you."
I will make this as comfortable as possible. I promise. Anything you need, anything you want, it is yours. I just want you safe too. I am always safe. I am a Caruso. We do not die easily. But there was something haunted in his eyes that suggested he'd come close. Too close. Within hours, my life was packed into boxes by silent, efficient men who never met my eyes. Antonio supervised everything, ensuring nothing was forgotten. Dante stayed close, his hand constantly finding mine, as if he needed the physical connection to believe I was really doing this. As we drove through the city toward his building, a gleaming tower in the financial district, I watched my neighborhood disappear and wondered if I would ever see it again. Wondered if I'd made the right choice. Dante squeezed my hand. No regrets, remember? No regrets, I echoed. But I was lying, and I think he knew it. The penthouse was a palace in the sky. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Manhattan like a kingdom laid out for conquering. Marble floors, designer furniture, art that probably cost more than most people's homes. Everything was sleek, modern, expensive, and utterly soulless. "This is your home now," Dante said, watching my reaction carefully. My home. Our home. Our home. The words should have warmed me. Instead, they felt like shackles clicking into place. He showed me around. The master bedroom with its king-sized bed and private terrace, the bathroom larger than my entire previous apartment, the closet already filled with clothes in my size, designer labels, silk and cashmere, shoes that cost more than I used to make in a month. "When did you have time to do all this?" I asked, touching a dove-gray dress that felt like water. "I have people. They are efficient." He came up behind me, his hands settling on my hips. "Do you like it?" "It's beautiful. It's just not you," he finished. "I know, but you will make it yours. Add your photographs, your books, whatever brings you comfort. This is not a cage, Claire. This is a sanctuary." But it felt like a cage. The guards posted at the elevator, the cameras in every hallway, the knowledge that I couldn't leave without permission, without an armed escort. Sanctuary and prison were often the same thing. I tried to adapt. I really did. Dante was attentive, bringing me breakfast in bed, canceling meetings to spend time with me, showering me with gifts I didn't want. He was trying so hard to make this work, to prove he could be more than the monster his world demanded. But the walls were closing in. On the third day, I insisted on going to work. Dante argued, his jaw tight with frustration, but eventually relented. Antonio and another guard, a silent man named Luca, drove me to the diner in an armored SUV. They sat at a booth the entire shift, watching, creating an atmosphere of tension that made my coworkers nervous and customers scarce. Tommy pulled me aside during a lull. "You okay, Claire? You look tired." "I'm fine." "You're lying." He glanced at my guards. "This is what you want? This life?" I didn't know how to answer. Was this what I wanted? To be protected and possessed? Caged in luxury? Desired with an intensity that bordered on obsession? Part of me thrilled to Dante's attention, his passion, the way he looked at me like I was the only real thing in his world. But another part, the part that had always valued freedom above comfort, was suffocating. That night, I found Dante in his study, hunched over papers, his phone pressed to his ear. He was speaking rapid Italian, his voice sharp with anger. When he saw me, his expression softened immediately. "I will call you back," he said, ending the conversation. "Come here, Piccola." I went to him, letting him pull me into his lap, his arms banding around my waist. "Long day?" I asked. "The Rossini family grows bold. They hit one of my shipments, killed 3 of my men." His hand fisted in my hair. "They are testing me, seeing if desire for you has made me weak." "Has it?" He looked at me, something raw in his eyes. "Yes, and no. You make me weak because I now have something to lose. But you also make me stronger, more focused, because I know what I am fighting for now." "Dante, maybe we should..." "No." He knew what I was going to say before I said it. "Do not even suggest it. You are mine. I will not let you go, even if staying with you puts me in danger. Especially then, because I am the only one who can truly protect you." He cupped my face. "I know this is hard.
I know you feel trapped, but I need you to trust me. This will not last forever. Once the Rossinis are dealt with, once order is restored, you will have more freedom. How will you deal with them? His eyes went cold. The only way they understand. Violence. Blood. I will make an example that ensures no one ever threatens you again. The promise should have frightened me. Instead, I felt a dark thrill. This man would wage war for me, would kill for me. It was twisted and wrong and intoxicating all at once. He kissed me then, slow and deep, carrying me from the study to the bedroom. And for a few hours, I forgot about cages and freedom, lost in the feel of his hands, his mouth, the way he whispered my name like a prayer and a curse. The war came to a head 2 weeks later. I was in the penthouse. Where else would I be? Reading on the terrace when Antonio appeared, his face grim. We need to move you. Now. What's happening? The Rossinis are making their play. Mr. Caruso wants you in the safe room until this is over. The safe room turned out to be a reinforced bunker, hidden behind a false wall in the master bedroom. Antonio ushered me inside, pressed a gun into my hands, just in case, and locked the door from the outside. I sat in the dim lighting, the gun heavy in my lap, listening to sounds I couldn't identify. Footsteps. Shouting. Was that gunfire? The walls were too thick to be sure. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. Time lost meaning in that concrete box. All I could think was that Dante was out there, fighting, possibly dying, while I sat helpless and hidden. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd complained about being caged, and now that cage was the only thing keeping me safe. When the door finally opened, I raised the gun with shaking hands before recognizing Dante. He looked like he'd walked through hell, blood splattered across his white shirt, a cut above his eye, his knuckles raw and split. But he was alive. He was standing. "It is over," he said simply. I dropped the gun and launched myself at him. He caught me, holding tight despite what had to be bruises beneath his clothes. "You're okay. You're alive." "Always, Piccola. I told you. Carusos do not die easily." He pulled back, examining me thoroughly. "You are unhurt? They did not breach the penthouse? I'm fine. What happened?" "The Rossinis made their move. They lost. Decisively." His voice was flat, emotionless. "Their leadership is gone. Their operations dismantled. Anyone who survives will know better than to threaten what is mine again." "You killed them. I eliminated a threat. I protected you. I did what was necessary." He cupped my face. "And I would do it again. 1,000 times over. Do you understand that? There is nothing I would not do to keep you safe." I should have been horrified. Should have recoiled from this man covered in blood. This killer who spoke of murder like it was grocery shopping. But instead, I kissed him. Hard and desperate, tasting copper and smoke and survival. He groaned, lifting me effortlessly, carrying me to the shower. We stripped off our clothes, his ruined, mine untouched, and stood under scalding water, washing away blood and fear. His hands trembled as they traced my body, checking for injuries that didn't exist, reassuring himself I was whole and safe. "I thought I would lose you," he confessed against my shoulder. "When the shooting started, when I knew they were trying to reach you, I have never known fear like that, Claire. Not even when my mother died, because losing you would break something in me that could never be repaired. I'm here. I'm safe. Because of you. Because of my world. Because I dragged you into darkness and called it love." His voice cracked. "You deserve better than this. Better than me." I turned in his arms, forcing him to meet my eyes. Maybe. But this is what I chose. You are what I chose, cage and all. Something fierce and tender crossed his face. "I will give you everything, anything you want. Just do not leave me. I'm not going anywhere." And I meant it. Somewhere in the chaos and fear and passion, I'd fallen for this broken, dangerous man, loved him despite, or maybe because of, his darkness. We made love under the water, slow and reverent, a celebration of survival, and afterward, wrapped in Egyptian cotton robes, we sat on the terrace, watching the sun rise over the city he ruled. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we live, without looking over our shoulders, without fear. He pulled me closer. I will still protect you, but perhaps less aggressively. You can return to work without guards. Live more freely. I know the cage has been suffocating. You'd really let me have freedom? You were never truly caged, Piccola. I would have released you if you had truly wanted to go. But yes, more freedom. Within reason. Because I am still a possessive bastard who wants to know where you are at all times. I laughed, the sound surprising us both. Baby steps. Baby steps, he agreed. Then, more seriously, marry me. I choked on air. What? Marry me. Make this official. Be mine not just in word but in law. In name. In every way that matters. He turned me to face him, his eyes intense. I know this is fast. I know I have given you every reason to say no. But I am asking anyway, because I love you, Claire Murphy, and I want the world to know you are protected. Cherished. Mine. Love. He'd said love. This man who claimed not to know how to love, who spoke of possession and obsession but never tender feelings. And looking into his eyes, I saw the truth of it. The vulnerability. The hope. Yes, I heard myself say. Yes, I'll marry you. The smile that broke across his face transformed him completely. He kissed me like I'd given him the world, which in a way, I had. His world. His light. His redemption. We married 3 months later in a small ceremony. Small by Caruso standards, which still meant 200 guests and security that could have protected a president. I wore a dress that cost more than my mother's entire wedding, and Dante wore a tuxedo that made him look like a god among men. But the moment that mattered was when he slid the ring onto my finger, platinum and diamonds that caught the light like stars, and said, "Mine, finally, officially, irrevocably mine." "Yours," I agreed, "but you're mine too. Don't forget that." "Never, Mrs. Caruso, never." The reception was lavish, the music beautiful, the food exquisite, but all I could focus on was Dante's hand in mine, the way he kept touching me, my face, my hand, my waist, as if reassuring himself I was real. That this was real. Tommy came, looking uncomfortable in a rented tux, and pulled me aside. "You happy, Claire?" I looked at my husband, and yes, that word still felt surreal. Laughing with his men, powerful and dangerous, and mine. I am. Terrifyingly, stupidly happy. Then that's all that matters, even if your husband scares the hell out of me. He should. He scares everyone. I squeezed Tommy's hand, but not me. Not anymore. That night, in the penthouse that had become truly ours, filled now with my books and photographs, my mother's old quilt on the bed, evidence of my presence everywhere. Dante carried me over the threshold like I weighed nothing. "Welcome home, Mrs. Caruso. I've been living here for months, but now it is official. Now you are truly mine, in every way." He set me down, his hands already working at the buttons of my dress. "And I intend to spend the rest of the night proving exactly what that means." He did. Thoroughly. And when we finally collapsed together, exhausted and sated, he held me close and whispered, "Thank you." For what? For seeing the man beneath the monster. For choosing me despite everything. For being my light in the darkness. He kissed my temple. "I do not deserve you, but I will spend every day trying to be worthy of the gift you have given me." The gift? Love. Real, honest, unconditional love. I never thought I would have that, and then a tired waitress insulted me, and everything changed. I smiled against his chest. "Best mistake I ever made. Best mistake we both made," he agreed. 2 years later, I stood in the kitchen of our penthouse, our home, filled with life and laughter and love, making coffee. The expensive kind now, because Dante had installed a proper espresso machine and taught me how to use it. The diner had closed 6 months ago, but I'd bought the building and reopened it under new management, keeping it as a reminder of where we started. Strong arms wrapped around me from behind. "Buongiorno, Molly mia," my wife. He still said it with wonder. "Good morning, husband." I leaned back into his embrace. Our son is awake. He wants his mother. Our son. Luca Caruso, named after Dante's fallen guard, 6 months old with his father's dark eyes and my wild curls. The greatest surprise of my life, and the final piece that made us a family. "I'll get him." "No." Dante turned me in his arms. "I will. You rest. You do too much." I'm fine. You are perfect. But even perfect beings need rest. He kissed me softly. I love you, Claire. Every day. More than the day before. I love you too, even when you're overbearing and possessive, and refuse to let me carry my own groceries. Especially then, he grinned, and disappeared to get our son. I sipped my espresso, watching the sunrise paint the city in gold, and thought about the journey that brought me here. The exhausted waitress who insulted a mafia boss. The dangerous man who fell impossibly in love. The cage that became a sanctuary. The darkness that found its light. Life with Dante would never be normal. There would always be danger, always be guards, always be the knowledge of what he was and what he'd done. But there would also be love, fierce, protective, all-consuming love, the kind that weathered wars and built families, the kind that turned monsters into men and waitresses into queens. Dante returned with Luca, our son laughing in his arms, and the sight of them together, this dangerous man holding our child with such gentleness, made my heart overflow. "What are you thinking, Piccola?" Dante asked, sitting beside me, our son between us. That I wouldn't change anything, not a single moment, not even the terrible apple pie. He laughed, the sound rich and warm and free, especially not the terrible pie. That pie brought me you. No regrets? I asked, echoing that first night. No regrets, he promised, sealing it with a kiss while our son giggled between us. And looking at my family, my strange, dangerous, beautiful family, I knew it was true. This was my life now, my choice, my love. And I wouldn't trade it for all the freedom in the world, because sometimes the best cages are the ones we build with our own hearts, and sometimes the most dangerous men are the ones who love us most completely. Dante Caruso had promised to cage me in gold, but what he'd really done was set me free. Free to be loved, free to be protected, free to be myself, sharp tongue and all, free to be his, and he, impossibly, wonderfully,